Hi everybody and welcome back to another episode of 10 for the Producers. I'm Travis Day.
I'm Darian Borlick.
We're two of the producers here in the Santa Monica office of Cloud Imperium Games. So thank you and welcome to the show, and a special thanks goes out to all of our subscribers that make shows like this possible. Their donations every month make us able to put on programs like this, and so we really appreciate that because we love interacting with you guys, so thank you.
And then he just left for South by Southwest, so we're filling in on this episode.
Big shoes to fill.
Absolutely.
I'm flopping around on my feet right now. Anyway, so we should get going with the first question, Darian. I think it's what?
All right, the first one is from our good friend and regular submitter, Beer for the Beer God. In a recent episode, Calix and Dan said that scheduling is your domain. How do you prioritize one bug or feature over another, and does the inclusive nature of Star Citizen's development change what gets tackled first? That's actually a pretty interesting question, because part of what production does is be able to prioritize what those tasks are. For example, we're on the cusp of 1.1.0, so when we have several critical bugs come through, we have to look at, all right, is this something that we can bump towards the next version? Is this something that can be tackled right away? And also we have to look at the risk. Is if we put this in, if we have one of our guys fix this, is there a risk that this could cause further problems down the road? Or just in the release that we're working on right now?
Yeah, well, it's organic, contextual, really.
Yes.
It's like, okay, so if we're putting it in 1.1.0 contains a couple new features. One of them, for example, is the Retaliator in the hangar. So if there is an issue with the Retaliator, any issue, it kind of raises it to a higher level, because at this point this is a feature that we're putting in the game. It's a new ship. This is something that people have spent money on. They want to look at. They want to have it be awesome, and we want it to be awesome for them. So automatically any Retaliator-related issue, kind of in my mind at least, raises up a little bit. If there are balance issues that something's clearly out of whack, or if there are kind of crappy user experience issues, we would tend to prioritize those pretty highly, because the whole point of Arena Commander is to get things balanced and get things fun. That's the idea about this modular release schedule, is that we can have space combat pretty well locked down and fun to play and engage in long before the release of, say, Squadron 42 or the Persistent Universe. So that's a big priority for us, because that's the whole point of what we're doing.
But it's also an iterative process in that we may not address a certain particular bug in this particular patch, and it may be a high priority bug that we'd like to address. We just don't have the time, or there are other higher priority issues that require our attention first. So we may knowingly let a bug go into the game, see if it's something that maybe a fix that someone else is working on may subsequently fix that as well. So it's kind of, sometimes it's whack-a-mole, sometimes it's just strategic, I guess, letting damage come through every now and then, just knowing that it's going to be addressed later on.
Yeah, like one of the things that Darian brings up, and this is usually when you do that, is the idea that the fix may be worse than the actual issue. So currently there's some problems on landing mechanic, right? And the landing mechanic's great, we think it's cool. Some ships will come in and land, and they'll tip over on the landing pad. It's not exactly what you want to do when you land your nice new ship, is have it sit back on its engine. Now there's a bunch of different issues underlying what's causing that, why the center of mass is off, why these things are being counted for. The risk being, if we, with 1 day, 2 days left, try and fix these and say, change the center of mass for all of these affected ships, well, that will change the flight balance and flight mechanics for all of these ships. So then you got to weigh it out. It's like, do we really want to do that and risk breaking the flight of every single ship just because it might land on its butt when it lands? Or do we say, okay, we'll let it land on its butt when it lands and take the next patch, say 2 weeks from now, and then we'll do the rebalance of the new center of mass.
We can focus more time on it.
Exactly.
This next question comes from Spectre NYC. The Mustang recently saw performance changes in Arena Commander 1.0.2. How are these changes achieved in an engine that physically models ship movement? Do these changes affect maneuverability across other ships? This kind of ties in what Travis just mentioned about center of mass and how there's other factors involved with how ships maneuver.
Yeah, so I mean, different ways that you can affect a ship's maneuverability, right, is you affect the power available, so the power plant itself servicing the power request, the power draw of the individual maneuvering thrusters. The thrusters themselves are all unique individual items, so to the point of your question of would changing them on one ship affect another, no, they will not. Each item has its own properties and its own stats. And so the things that you can modify the power plant, you can modify the cooling, it's kind of separate from the thruster system. And then you can modify the thrusters themselves, their power output. You can modify how quickly, if they're articulable thrusters, how quickly they can articulate. So say if they have a positive negative 90, so a 180 degree, You can say, okay, we only let it traverse at 30 degrees a second, or we let it traverse at 90 degrees a second, and that will affect the performance characteristics of the ship as it pulls all the thrusters and how quickly they can articulate to the position they need to be in. So those are kind of the primary things that we mess around with. Sometimes, in the case of the Mustang, it's multiple, right? So it's the power, it's a little bit of the cooling, it's the actual output of the thrusters, it's the range of the articulation of the thrusters, and the speed at which they articulate. So the Mustang was a pretty extensive modification.
And these are things with the tuning kit. We want players to be able to actually tune their own for future customization. One of the stretch goals is the tuning kit. That's we haven't really established what it's supposed to do just yet, but the idea is we'd like to be able to allow players to be able to actually tune those parameters down to the minutia.
Yeah, exactly. And some of the parameters will be basically derivative of the item itself, right? So maybe on the Mustang you have 4 different types of thrusters that you can equip. The 4 different types all kind of, one's the really quick articulation one, and one's the really wide range, but maybe it's slower, and one's the super powerful, but only goes in one direction one.
Or more fuel efficient one.
Yeah, exactly. And then within that, you can kind of, that establishes the range for that thruster or the behavior of that thruster. A lot of our designers and our design team thinks about different items kind of categorizing the behavior of that item. And then anything that you can do operates within the behavioral range of that item. So then you can modify within that spectrum.
A good example of that, or at least a comparison, be, taking your favorite compact car and dropping a Ford Mustang engine or a Corvette engine. Mm-hmm. That's going to change the performance specification parameters of that particular car because, one, it wasn't designed for that engine in the first place. Therefore, you're going to need to upgrade the suspension bushings, the transmission, any other parts that require modification to support that kind of performance. So the idea is kind of like, if you're the kind of grease monkey where you like tuning under your hood over the weekend on your car, the same idea applies here.
Yeah, and you actually may want to take some things back, right?
Yeah.
Like, for example, if you were to upgrade your maneuvering thrusters in your main engine, but not your power plant or your cooling, you may actually want to tune them down to, say, 60% of their full operational potential, because you don't want to be constantly overheating and losing all your power draw and not able to shoot your weapons anytime you throttle up. So this next question comes to us from Murray, PhD, aka Dr. Murray. Yes, as producers, you are the keepers of the schedule, but you also each have pet projects of your own. Parenthetical, a reasoned guest on my behalf. Parenthetical. Will you tell us a little bit about these projects you're most excited about? Yeah, we do have our own little pet projects.
They're not very exciting.
It's not like we want to cast our daughter in the game or anything like that, like the classic producer idea from a Hollywood producer. So Darren, what are some of your pet projects?
Ooh, mine's really exciting. I'm coming up with a way of automating how we invoice our outsourced artists. If you are a project manager or producer type, this actually may sound a little more interesting. We do a lot of outsourcing work, a lot of contractual work, and I'm trying to come up with a method, at least a job numbering system where every time we get an invoice, we send an invoice out that I can keep a digital archive complete with job numbers on what kind of project, what cost center it comes out of, who it went to, what date it was, and I have a numbering system that I've used before, and I think it's applicable here, and it's something that I'm trying to get the ball rolling on, and I'm actually pretty excited about it.
Yeah. I don't know if I have any pet projects, really. I guess my biggest, most exciting pet projects would be reorganizing Jira, adding new components to Jira. I did a recent update on the fixed versions in Jira. Fun stuff like that.
That's exciting production pet projects.
Yeah. Welcome to our hell. No, I'm just kidding. It's actually, for me, it makes our lives easier and it organizes the team, which is the most important part. Our next question comes to us from Hate Fury. I'm not sure if you hated the movie Fury, the idea of Fury, but anyway, that's one from the producers. It's been discussed in the PU that if convoys keep getting attacked, then a mission would be potentially generated for a player to provide an escort. Is it possible for the pirates to decide getting the extra manpower in is worth the cost at the same time generating a mission for a player to assist in an attack, and at the same time could these two missions interact, causing a PvP engagement to happen? Yeah, so I mean, not to be glib, the idea behind the economic system, right, is that this will be the driver for what you encounter as you fly around. So I think Chris talked about this a little bit at PAX East and some of the interviews he gave. I talked about it at PAX East and some of the interviews I gave. But basically, the economic system is what's going to be driving what is happening in the space between planets, right? So it's going to be establishing where the trade routes are going, what those trade routes are carrying. So you may see increased pirate activity if all of a sudden a commodity becomes let's say ore is mined on this one planet, and it's unobtainium. And all of a sudden the demand for unobtainium throughout the galaxy goes through the roof, driving an increase in the price. That will increase the amount of pirate activity trying to obtain unobtainium. So this organic way in which things will flow back and forth, driven by the economy, will help to inform what things you encounter as you fly. So example, the unobtainium example, to take this way too far, if the price goes way high, then supply and demand dictates that people will be coming to that planet to try and make money off of it. So the supply will increase and the trade lanes will be populated with it, which means that if you were flying in between the planets that are attached to this planet via jump points and systems, you would see much more freighters. That would be what you would encounter. You will probably also over time see more pirates coming in. That pirate activity, who are impacting such a valuable resource, will then be seeing a bunch of job boards generating missions to protect these convoys. So it's all very organic, and as a pirate, if you're attacking these convoys, and there's going to be NPC AI pirates, and then there's going to be player pirates that are there for the exact same reasons, you may then end up in a situation where somebody who has a job to protect this convoy is the same convoy that you decide to attack. Voila, you will be in PvP combat.
Or, a job comes up to protect this convoy, which generates an opposing mission on, let's say, an infamy pirate board where, hey, this convoy is going to be coming through the system. This crime syndicate is offering this much money for you to snag this payload. Think of the gold rush in California during the 1800s, where someone found gold, and then suddenly people flocked all over to California and San Francisco area to mine all this gold, which meant an increased amount of traffic, people coming in and out. But it also meant an increased amount of banditry that went on those
the routes to and from.
Yeah.
I also kind of like the idea that like, say, a pirate syndicate or anybody could give a mission and say intercept this shipment of ore, and that you might not be the only guy who's there to heed that call.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You may end up penniless because you missed out on it, which happened during the gold rush. A lot of people died broke.
And you may end up fighting with a guy over who gets to actually take that payload.
Who stakes the claim on that particular rock.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it'll be a fun, dynamic system that will really provide a lot of variance and fresh experience for players, which I think is why we're so excited about it.
This next question comes from Zacharol, I guess. Wouldn't it be amazing to have Space Waves radio player career driven with factual live updates on what's happening with conflict, commodities, or even specials? This could be a system-wide with many operators across the persistent universe, or just one group with time slots handling the lot. End product will be when you tune in and have a live broadcast with advertisements, announcements sourced from either from players or system generated, music, and just rambling on for conversation to keep you entertained for those long trips or jobs. Wouldn't be complete without ratings also. Who has the best show?
That's kind of a fun idea.
It is.
I would like to be like the Michael Savage or the Rush Limbaugh of our universe, like fear-mongering about the Imperator and alien races. That'd be kind of cool.
Way too many potential political discussions.
Probably shouldn't get into that.
The reason why I actually liked this question, and it's because it's an ongoing, I guess this would also be considered a pet project, referring to the previous question. When we did the first 10 for the producers, everybody thought that I should be flying around in an 890 jump as a Bond villain.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And my personal goal, and if I can make it happen, that'd be cool. If not, oh well. I want to take an 890 jump, gut the inside, and turn into an interplanetary nightclub that just traverses star system to star system with my DJ character floating around on an anti-grav DJ booth. Whether if we have the tech to stream music through it, if there's no licensing problems or whatever, or we have our own in-house orchestra that creates a soundtrack that can be streamed through there. But I wanted
to have like celebrity guests like come and work your party.
Yeah, absolutely. And it could be just every year it goes from, or every whatever week it goes from one planetary system to another, and just does this large circuit where it's this giant flying nightclub that just makes its tours through the stars. So every time it comes back around, it's a big media deal. Like, hey, this party's come back into town. Buy your tickets, and everybody has fun in the hull of the ship, dancing the night away.
I like this. I always wanted to be like Lord British, cruising around as an advocacy agent and just like solving people's problems, like basically just answering customer service tickets in game. I guess I could get a job in customer service, but for some reason that's really appeling to me.
Yeah, through this I sell ad space to help fund the trip through the stars.
Yeah, I like that idea. Oh, but so this guy wants to have a radio show. Probably not initial launch, but definitely in fiction radio hosted by real life people is something that I've heard Chris talk about.
Yes.
It's something that is of interest to him. It does come with a whole slew of, we'll go back to the Rush Limbaugh and Michael Savage thing, like a whole slew of kind of content management precautions we'll have to have in place. But
Yes.
but yeah, it is something that would be cool. I'm totally on board with the idea.
This is by Radiant Flux. How is your take and view on decoupled flight? How far back is it in the pipeline, and how important do you see it as a flight method? Equal to coupled flight? Are there adjustments of, for example, the HUD planned specifically for it?
Okay, so I guess he's asking, because we have decoupled flight now as a mechanic, but I guess he's asking for like deeper dive features. And I think one of the things he mentions on the HUD that is important is we do have this goal of in the long run having, call it sixed off strafe mode or decoupled flight would come with a different heads up display to better help you fly if you are decoupled, right? So you'd have like maybe more prominent total velocity indicator showing your actual direction of drift. You'd probably want to see your axial thrust. These are things that we've talked about. That said, it's not super high on the priority list. I think we want to manage coupled flight, and we want to have strafe mode and make strafe mode work well within the flight model, and kind of build new ships, perfect the flight mode, and then after that, and it kind of goes back to the priority question earlier about like how do we prioritize bugs and features, and then after that start offering like a deeper dive set of features for one particular subset of the flight mode.
Right.
So that would be the long-term plan.
Yeah, and keep in mind, we are in this for the long haul, so that's why it's such an iterative process. That's why we kind of do pre-production, production at the same time. It may, when it launches, it may not be perfect right from the start. It's because we'd rather get it in the system, get your guys' feedback, making sure we're heading down the right path with it.
Our next question comes to us from Amontillado. Will there be co-op versus AI for the FPS module when it releases? No. So what we're going to do is we're going to add that at some point. It is definitely very high on the priority list. We see how many people in the Arena Commander community are very, very focused on single player and adding, we're focused on adding new single player modes to support them. I think the last statistic I'd seen was that 80% of our backers right now are engaged in Arena Commander single player or Vandal Swarm co-op. So we know that this is something that's very important to the community. It also provides us a great test bed selfishly to test our FPS AI and our ship AI. So what we're doing is right now is we're working with Moonclider and the UK studio Foundry 42 in conjunction with Ilphonic to get think of it, Marines on Gold Horizons versus Endless Waves of Outlaws, or vice versa, Endless Waves of Marines against Outlaws that are holding out, as well as actual more, I would say, scripted scenarios where it's, think of like Counter-Strike, CS Siege, where you're supposed to get into a location, stealth mechanics come into play, and it's basically to use that as a test bed for all of these features that you will be seeing in Squadron 42, and this is a good place and an opportunity for us to test them with the community ahead of time.
Like the zero gravity.
Yeah, just like zero gravity, exactly. So like zero G, yeah, sure, it's fun in the FPS module, it's unique in the FPS module, but it will directly impact how zero G flight works for when you get out of your ship anywhere in the persistent universe. Yeah. So the answer is yes, we're totally going to do it, just not for the initial release.
So this next one comes from K. Craven, ER. With all of the detail, backstories, and economic models you are putting in the game for various corporations, will there be some type of stock market where players can invest in these corporations, earn dividends, or just buy and sell stocks for profit? I actually had a conversation with Dan, Tracy, and a couple of the other guys where we have these large corporations in the game that are selling ships. It would be really cool to be able to invest in these corporations if they were publicly traded on the UEE stock market or something, where you can buy shares, and whether the stocks crash, let's say going back to unobtainium, that means mining ships are going to fetch an all-time premium. Therefore, if you invested in those mining ships, that manufacturer, your stocks are going to rise.
Oh, dude, we can engage on some sick insider trading because we would know what ships and where the economy was headed. That'd be great.
And that would be one of the reasons why we wouldn't do it.
Oh, right, yeah.
That obviously there's a lot of risks for how do you keep it fair and balanced when you have employees who play the game, and if you even implement a rule like employee accounts can't invest in it. Well, what if I jumped on a personal account? So there's a lot of tricks to it and different things that we have to negotiate, but it is an idea that I've heard tossed around. Yeah. And it would be kind of fun just to have that extra level of immersion.
No, totally. It'd be fun to be like, come in and collect your dividends from Origin Junkworks or whatever. I mean, it's a cool idea, but yeah, it's definitely something that would have to come with time. Our next question comes to us from Muddy Grimes. Greetings. With the FPS combat having weapons like assault rifles, pistols, laser weapons, etc., can we also expect to be able to improvise with salvage/mining tools, say a handheld plasma cutter and other types of power tools for the occasional pirates boarding your Orion or Reclaimer situation? So, I can't tell you the depth to which this will go. Like, are you going to be able to have a power drill in the game at all? I don't know, probably, but will you be able to use that as an FPS weapon? Yes, if you can have a power drill and use it to drill things, you could drill an enemy. Same thing with we talked about the PAW, the personal arc welder. This is something that, yes, would be used for repairs and used for opening doors, sealing doors, all this kind of, normal welding type stuff.
So there's a heat factor to it.
Yeah, exactly. And then if you just take that and you apply it to a person, that would probably hurt them. So yes, absolutely. That is, and I always enjoy using, like, in games, like using the not good approach to kill people is like much more fun for me and satisfying.
I'm imagining the scene from Chronicles of Riddick where he has the tin cup on the table and he says, "I will kill you with this cup."
Oh yeah.
And the couple guys attack him. He twists the end of the cup, stabs it into the guy's heart.
Or Equalizer did something similar.
Yeah,
I like that movie. But yes, answer is yes.
Next question is from Crimson Hawk Moth. I know that there have been multiple questions regarding sticking on your org logo decals on the hull of ships. However, will there be an option to put up logos, signs, etc. inside your ship? I would like to personally put different logos inside my ships. Example, on the entrance door to the cargo hold, I'd like to put a personalized sign that says no entry, or anything for that matter, or even your org logo on the bridge of your ship, like the way some Navy ships have their namesake on the ceiling or somewhere inside of the bridge. Mm-hmm. One of the stretch goals that we have, and that we're currently evaluating, is cockpit decorations. So we haven't really fleshed out what those cockpit decorations are, whether they're going to be, certain ones that you can just simply select from a pre-designed set of decorations, like fuzzy dice or, a leather covered steering wheel.
Chris Roberts bobblehead.
Yeah. I want a Travis bobblehead.
That'd be weird.
Just kind of sit there.
It's all bobble, no head. Yeah.
But as far as customized internal decorations, I think that's something that has that come up at all? I don't remember.
Yeah, so one of the things we're talking about is like, the classic image of guy in his bunk on a Navy ship, and you got like the pinup girl, like, on the side of the bunk. And so when we talk about, we've been talking about exactly what Darian said is the cockpit decoration stretch goal. And we've been thinking about a more holistic system that's much more like what he's describing or desiring, which is a ship decoration system.
Right.
Because, the basic idea of having, 4 slots where you could put 4 different things on this table, or 4 pieces of art slots on the wall, that would all use the same system under the hood. So we really should just define these points and metrics for these points throughout the ship.
So I want to write down no fear, as a reminder of, as I go into combat.
Yeah, that'd be kind of cool. You could put it on the little, what do they call the knee knockers, the top of the knee knockers on ships? Anyway, yeah, but that would be a cool thing to put up stickers like that, little sayings, put it on the outside of escape pods, like oh shit or something. That would be kind of fun. Thank you guys very much for joining us for another episode of 10 for the Producers. I always say this, but this may be the last one, so thank you for having us, and thank you again to the subscribers who support us and who make it possible for us to do a show like this. It's really, I think, a valuable service to the community, and so we appreciate you making that possible. So once again, I'm Travis Day.
I'm Darian Vorlick.
And thank you for joining us on 10 for the Producers, and we'll see you in the verse.
Hey guys, thanks for watching 10 for the Chairman. If you guys would like to see more episodes, go here. If you guys would like to subscribe to our YouTube channel and always keep up to date with all our video content, go here. And if you guys would like to watch episodes of Around the Verse, go here please. And I will see you in the verse.